Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James. Thank you guys again for your fantastic support to this point. It is greatly appreciated by the family. Like I said, not going on with the lives at this moment in time. We'll be just daily news videos, well, when I can get them out, obviously with circumstances as they are. Now, look, you know what? It's kind of a Groundhog Day-esque day today, isn't it? Rangers play on a Sunday. Rangers go 2 goals down. Rangers then start playing in the second half and fight back to get a draw or a win. A draw in these circumstances. It's almost Groundhog Day-esque, isn't it? It constantly just, I don't know. It's almost like we need to go those goals down before we even start playing domestically. I mean, look, let's get things into perspective, though. I mean, I'm kind of just, drawing similarities with recent performances because obviously that's what we've seen recently. We go a couple of goals down and then we start playing. Now, I know that team that was picked today is a team we will never, ever see again. There were lots of absentees of what I would call first team players, first team regulars. James Tavernier, whatever you think of him, is a first team regular, unfortunately. Cyril Dessers, sake, is a first team regular. God knows how. I'm not being funny, but my dog could do a better job. John Suter obviously not starting. Diamonde not starting. Raskan not starting. This was very much a reserve looking team. It was, I think, basically what Barry Ferguson had to do. He's got to, with where we are at this stage of the season, with the fact that, basically all that is left to play for is the Europa League, and with us being very much still in that tie after that heroic effort on Thursday night, this is what he had to do. Obviously, Kelly retained his position in goal, and Ciala, Fernandez proper, Barron, Bayrami, Cortez, McCausland, Curtis, Igaman, and Danilo. I think the one worrying thing is that he starts Igaman today, which I think pretty much tells you that Cyril Dessers will start up front out in Bilbao on Thursday night, which I personally think is an absolutely ridiculous decision if that's the decision that Barry takes. I personally would start Hamza, especially after that goal today. He can do what no other Rangers forward can do. In difficult circumstances, can turn, can get away from a man, beat a man, smash it in the back of the net. Everything that Dessers can't. Dessers, quite frankly, one of the worst strikers in Scottish football in terms of the amount of chances that the man misses. Realistically, guys, he's got to be sold in the summer. He is absolute dog shite. Look, Kelly, I thought today retained his position. I think he was to blame for the first goal. He was great on Thursday night, don't get me wrong, but I think, one thing this kind of says is, number one, I think it says two things, really. I think, one, that Jack Butland's Rangers career is over. I think with the nature of this squad today, yes, I think some of it was getting Kelly some first team football, but by the same, and getting him some of that more ring rustiness out of him. Obviously, he hasn't played a lot. But it kind of says to Butland, look, I've changed the team massively. I'm resting players for Thursday night, but you can't even get back in the team then. So it pretty much says that Butland is gone at the end of the season. And look, I think another thing that it kind of says as well is that we do need to sign a goalkeeper in the summer. I don't think Liam Kelly is the long-term answer at number one. He really genuinely isn't. I would have liked to see Mason Munn actually get some minutes today in goal. Have a look at him domestically. Look, if there truly is nothing left to play for domestically, and it's all just about Europe now, why not give him a run out? I thought Enciala was very poor today. Didn't progress the ball well. Didn't hold the back up very well. Fernandez, surprise. I mean, I didn't even know he still existed. I thought he was just a figment of everyone's imagination. But no, he got a game but went off injured. Of course he went off injured. He's a Rangers player now. He's going to get injured, isn't he? That's what Rangers players do. They get injured. Proper. That, please God, has to be the final time we ever see Robin Proper in a Rangers shirt. I mean, he was an absolute bomb scare again today. Absolutely dreadful. Just looked lost, made mistake after mistake. Poor, just genuinely poor. And after the red card, and it was a red card, guys. I mean, let's not hide behind the... I mean, look, I've got loads of time and respect for Ali McCoist, but when he comes out with the pish that he came out with on Thursday night, you kind of lose a little bit of respect there for his punditry work. Not for his, obviously, what he did for Rangers. No, you can never lose respect for that. But, the same token, Robin Proper, just absolute garbage today. Conor Barron was handed the captain's armband against his old team and got absolutely booed to high heaven for it. Didn't do a great deal. Wasn't terrible. Wasn't great. Did okay. Bayrami, please, can someone tell me, seriously, could someone tell me what is the point of a Bayrami? What does a Bayrami do? I'd rather have a Pepperami than a Bayrami. I really genuinely would. The guy, I mean, what is concerning for me is that is someone who costs £4.5 million. And I know that in the great scheme of football, when you're seeing players go for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 million, 90 million, there's talk of, buying Alexander Isak down south, one of the big four teams, for 150 million. And you're talking about, players going to Real Madrid for 100 million, and players moving to Manchester City for 90 to 100 million. Yes, I know 4.5 is fish food compared to that, but it's a lot of money for Rangers. And Bayrami is, quite frankly, one of the most disappointing players I have ever seen in a Rangers shirt. What he does, I genuinely don't know. You watch him and you just think, did you win a competition? I mean, he almost makes Kieran Dowell look like Zinedine Zidane at times. He really does. Cortez, guys, I've got to say, look, Cortez today was poor. Let's not get away from the fact, but I've got to say, some of the stuff that I've read online, and I know online is an awful place to see stuff, because, I mean, I get my fair share of shit on there from so-called Rangers fans, but, Cortez is not match fit. I mean, the guy is nowhere near match fit. Yes, he gave the ball away a little bit too much, but look, to judge him on that performance and to say that he's pish and he's rubbish and my God, we've been fleeced and all this stuff based on his footballing performance at this point, I think he's very, very unfair. He needs games. He needs to get match fit. You can't expect him to come back in and that be his first start in God knows how long, and suddenly play like Rodrigo or play like Mo Salah or play like Sacco or someone like that. It's just not going to, Sacco, whatever he's called, the Arsenal player. It's not going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. So I think to judge him on that is a bit harsh. Curtis, I thought did okay. Was skinned for the second goal, I think it was. For one of the two goals, got absolutely skinned. But he's a kid finding his way. So all the Rangers plan. If there is any fans, and I have read some online getting on his back, get off his back. He's a kid, for God's sake, give him a chance. We're never going to see if these kids are good enough. If after one mistake and one slightly average performance, you get absolutely slaughtered by so-called fans. That's just not going to happen. I'm not going to slaughter him. He did all right today. He did all right. Look, one player I am going to call out, and I've been a massive advocate of his. You go back, look, if anyone comes on here and says, we hate him now as well. No, because you go back across my videos and you see that I have backed this young man to the hilt constantly. But I thought McCausland today did look so uncomfortable. Obviously got himself sent off, far from ideal for a second booking. Just looked lost. Looked absolutely lost today. Look, I love Ross. I love wee Ross. He's a Rangers man through and through. He loves the club. He loves playing for the club. But I think he's kind of reached the end of his time at the club. And I think maybe send him out on loan next season. Or if we do get a fee for him, from one of those smaller teams like Dundee or St Mirren or Livingston or St Johnstone, maybe look at that. Because I don't think he's good enough to play for Rangers long term. I just don't think he's got it in him anymore. Igaman, I thought, did very, very well today. I thought I'd give him 7, 8 out of 10 today. Obviously got his goal, had one ruled out. A little harshly by my estimations. And again, I want to move on to Danilo. I think Danilo today, again, gets a bit of a rough end of the spectrum again. Again, there's people saying that he looked pish today, he looked dreadful today, he was awful, he's a waste of money, blah blah blah. Question: is he match fit? How much game time has he played in the last 4 or 5 weeks? And don't come back that he's not fit because he was injured, because he wasn't. He was on the bench. He just didn't get on. The manager didn't use him. Barry Ferguson didn't put him out there, didn't give him minutes, didn't bring him on as a sub. Now, maybe Barry Ferguson's got a problem with him. I don't know. But again, I don't think you can judge Danilo solely based on today. Yes, he was hooked and so on and so forth. But I think it's harsh to kind of base it on that, because of the fact that he has not got a lot of game time. He hasn't got it in his legs. I once heard, I remember the guy's name, I think it was Stephen Elliott, former Sunderland player, talk about match fitness. And he said, you can look as fit as you want on a training field, but it takes you 4 to 6 weeks to get up to full match fitness, and that's playing games consistently. Something Danilo hasn't done. So I think to kind of slag him off and slaughter him based on that is a bit harsh at this point in time. Yes, slaughter players who played badly, who've had minutes, who've played 90 minutes here, who've played 45, 60, 20, 30 minutes here, who've built their match fitness, who again let us down today. Bayrami, Proper, for example, who were so poor today. But certainly don't go after after someone like Danilo today. I don't think that's very fair at all. The subs obviously that came on, I thought Tavernier was okay when he came on. I think he was partly to blame for the second goal. He loses the flight of the ball again. Something he's done quite often. I think the Celtic goal as well was the second Celtic goal. He was the first one. I can't remember, 1 or 2 goals he was to blame for on that one. Dio came, obviously Dio, Hadji. Hadji comes on and scores. I mean, top man again. Comes on, scores a goal. Has to start Thursday night. Really genuinely has to start Thursday night. He really does have to be put out there to start against Bilbao. I think he is someone who can make a real difference to this. I mean, who to think, that he obviously proffers from another Dessers miss. Dessers hits the post, ball rebounds, and Hadji curls it into the top corner. Great goal. Lovely to see the Aberdeen fans looking so crestfallen as well. Always good to see. But Dessers misses again. There we go. Anyway, look, I mean, what does this tell us? I think, you got to kind of sit there and you've got to kind of think, looking back now to previous games in the league, when we did play Tavernier, Souter, etc., when we did play, and obviously looking at these players as well today, what does it tell us? Well, it tells us very simply that this squad is light years away from being good enough to compete for a league title. Absolutely light years away from been in a position to compete with Celtic, been in a position to win a league title next season, been in a position to win anything next season. This is a squad that needs to be torn apart, that needs to have so many players moved on, got rid of, sold, pushed out, whatever way we can do it. It is a squad that just massively needs a huge, huge overhaul. And, it kind of, I think, reflects badly on Philippe Clement. It reflects badly on Niels Koppen. It reflects badly on the board, who signed off on a lot of these deals. But maybe you've even got to look at Niels Koppen to some extent and ask, to what extent has his transfer business put us in this position? Yes, he's had some successes, certainly, buying some players that have been a success, but equally he's had some absolute duffers, that don't play well in Scotland, that you can do it in Europe, and I think he's built a team for Europe, but he's not built a team for Scotland. And what you've got to say, Niels, is that when it comes to building a team, a Rangers team, you've got to build that team first and foremost to win in Scotland, and he hasn't really done that. This is a massive summer for him. I think if he gets this summer wrong, then his job will very firmly be on the line, which it has to be. It has to be. If he doesn't have success this summer at bringing in new talent. Obviously, Lyle Cameron, the first of those, I think is a very good signing. What else does it tell us? I think it also tells us that, quite frankly, Barry Ferguson is not the right man to take this club forward. I think, every domestic game we go 2-0 down. Every domestic game we start so badly, and it takes a bollocking at half time to get them to play. Long term, that is not a strategy for success. Long term, that is not a way to get the best out of your players, because long term, they stop listening. They shut down. They don't listen anymore. If you are constantly having to ball them out and bollock them at half time, which is clear that Barry is having to do, and make these constant changes, player morale is going to drop. You're going to end up with a situation that, 6 to 8 months down the line, you're going to be looking for another new manager because he'll have lost the dressing room again. And I don't want that for Barry. This guy's a Rangers legend. He's a Rangers man through and through, and I don't want him to ever be put in that position. I just honestly feel that this tells us, no matter what happens on Thursday night, that this is a job that is too big for him. This is a job that needs someone with experience. This is a job that needs someone to come in and really start to right the ship, first of all, turn the ship round, which is going to take a little bit of time, and get it moving back in the right direction. And that's someone who's got experience of managing at the top level, experience of managing at the highest level, experience of managing a big football club. Certainly something that Barry Ferguson doesn't have. And I think, personally speaking, and I love him to bits, and if he does get appointed, I will back him 1,000,000%. Of course I will. But he just isn't the man for the job. This, I think, today again proves that. Domestically, he has not proved to me that he's ready to be Rangers manager. His domestic form is not good. We've lost, we've drawn, we haven't done very well domestically at all since he's taken over. So, and look, as well as we've done in Europe, which is great, which I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I think realistically we even get those results under Philippe Clement. Nothing suggests that Clement couldn't do it in Europe, and people who will say, well, that's rubbish, Aaron, you're talking crap because Clement was an awful manager. Yes, he was an awful manager, but he could do it in Europe because his style of play, his slow, laborious build-up and so on and so forth works in Europe. It just does. And the results that he got in Europe certainly prove that. And I think, the whole European thing is not just down to Barry. This is also down to the whole sort of fundamentals that were set in place by by Clement, by Issam Chiri, obviously, who's there, by Stefan van der Heyden. I think, that would have been there no matter what. I think, no matter who had come in and taken over on an interim basis to the end. If it had been Stephen Davis, for example, if it had been Kevin Thompson, I think you would have seen the same thing in Europe, because this team is set up to play European football, as we've seen all season. If it could do it for Philippe Clement in Europe, it pretty much could do it for anybody. But domestically, we're saying the same bad results. And I think we do need someone with that experience to take this club forward. Who that is, guys, look, I mean, we've suggested people. We've all suggested people. But that's someone far better than me to suggest, or far better than me to appoint. Greta Steinson, whether he's him, or someone like him to make those decisions, he is a man in the know. He's the man that knows the game. So hopefully that is a decision that will be taken by someone like him. I think one of the things that is often proven is that the worst people to pick players and to pick managers is the fans, because we are obviously solely invested heart, body and soul in our football club, aren't we? Just how we are. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation this morning. As always, on the way out, please like, comment, share and subscribe. And remember always, we are the people.